Why did I decide to record my audiobook in the shed? Well, in this video, I'll tell you about how I self-publish my audiobook and why, when you see clips of me recording it, I'm sometimes in here and sometimes I'm in here. Full transparency, I spent about $850 publishing my audiobook. Now, you could probably get that down to $300 to $500 depending on how much of it you want to do and how much of it you want to outsource, and that's going to depend on how much money you can make with your time and what you're willing to put up with. If you don't know me, I'm Dr. Anna Schmidt. I research the unwritten rules of work for the working class and neurodivergence. I'm an industrial organizational psychologist, and I've been researching the unwritten rules for about 10 years. So I wrote a book about it. After 10 years of being in research and applied work, I was burnt out from academic publishing, and so I decided to self-publish just because I know so many people who have written a book, and they were like, it wasn't worth it. The publishing process was so predatory. You don't get any of the rewards for it, and they get to control your voice, what you write about, etc. And considering this was my research that I have done, and it is specifically about something very taboo about the cultural norms in workplaces that aren't great, I was like, I don't want a corporation influencing that. I want to just be able to talk about the research. If I could go back and do it again with what I would know now, I would have saved $8,710.10. Yes, exactly that amount. And that does not include lost sales and how long things have been delayed or potentially lost leads that could have come from the book in sales. So when I tell you that if I could go back and do it again, I would have saved $8,710.10. That is a very conservative number. That is my researcher hat on, not my Southern hyperbole hat on. Okay. So with self-publishing, publishing the manuscript was a bit messy. And if you've been following me for a while, you know some of what has gone on. I can't talk about all the details legally. However, let's just say when it came time to do the audiobook, I was over it and I wanted to do it completely by myself, not even using any other self-publishing firms. Now, this is not to shit on anybody with a recording studio. I think if you're not going to be in 13 countries in 10 months like I was during this time, if you have the cash to burn, if you know you can sit still for long enough to maybe go and sit in a recording booth for 2 to 3 full days, knock yourself out. For me, I knew that I just wanted to do it on my own. And I wanted the flexibility and to be able to do maybe an hour or two a day and then do something else because, I have a lot of ADHD tendencies. For self-publishing manuscript, that my marketing agent, Rodney Washington, has really been my saving grace. If I would have found him earlier, this is how I would have saved $8,710.10. So if you were thinking about self-publishing, strongly recommend that you hire him. His prices are very reasonable. If anything, he helps you too much for what you pay him. And like I said, it would have saved me $8,710.10. Okay. Now that we've got that out of the way, first let's talk about why it looks like I'm recording in a shed. So I started here, which is in my honey's office that I commandeered for a few weeks. And I started recording here, but I don't know if you can tell with this microphone, which is pretty good at noise canceling. I think I got this on TikTok Shop, but I wasn't using this microphone. I was using this professional microphone. And there was a little bit of an echo in here. As you can see, this is it's not an empty room, but there's not a lot on the walls. So I was actually advised by people who have recorded at home to record in a closet because all of the clothes are actually supposedly really good at muffling sounds. We don't have closets like that in the London house. All of ours are like in the wall, tucked away because a lot of them my honey built himself. I was also recommended by some people too, if you don't have a good closet or you don't have a room that's more insulated, to put a blanket over maybe a high table and then you record under it. I'm in my 30s and I've had an upper back injury since I was 19. That ain't happening. We did not have a table high enough for me to be able to do that without worsening my health. So if you are young and able and have a very high table, that's another way you could do that. So I started out here, but there's a little bit of an echo. It's like, oh, it'll be so nice as you've seen my clips, that it had this nice background of all his books. And look, I can even have my book in the background right there. And like, oh, it makes me look so studious. and it looks great. It'll be great content. And sound wasn't it. And I was like, what is best for sound quality? That's the priority. So think about what it sounds like here versus what it sounds like in here. See the difference? It's because this room has more shit in it. Yeah, it's not as nice as some of the clothes in a closet, but there's all the tools. There's even some safety hazard jackets because his dad's a blue collar worker. The jackets. We even have the dryer that is rarely used because here in the UK, a lot of people just take it outside, let it dry in the sun when the sun does shine. There's more clothes, there's more things to insulate the sound. And so I ultimately moved in here and propped my computer up on the dryer when it wasn't running, which is pretty often, and recorded from here. And that is why you will see this background. It is less aesthetic, as the kids say now. It's but it's very on brand for my book though. Which is about class shifts for people who are the first generation professionals, people who have moved up in Class B employment. So a lot of them have backgrounds that look like this. My dad has a shed like this. My dad was a pulp mill worker. So it's very on brand for my book. It's also on brand for my book because, you know, my focus on the unwritten rules of work, I look at how it impacts people and organizations. And a lot of the unwritten rules that are normalized in organizations do actually have negative business impact. So who was I to do a book about this and then record it for something that's more aesthetically pleasing and appears to be good versus what is actually going to deliver the quality product? And the video was really for marketing purposes only, that I recorded myself on my phone while I actually recorded the sound on my camera, or the sound onto my computer via the microphone. So most people who listen to the actual audiobook, you're not going to see me anyway. So priorities that were very in line with my business mission, what my book is about, and that is why the decision was made. So if you're at home, find a closet or a tool shed. Now, as for quality and appearances, you can get both. You're just going to have to pay a bit more money and stay in one place, which is something I have not done this year, if you follow me. What equipment did I use? Okay, I'm going to try to pronounce this. Go ahead and make fun of me. So I used the Audio-Technica AT2020 USB Plus cardioid condenser USB microphone with built-in headphone jack and volume control. Perfect for content creators, parentheses, black, close parentheses. Unfortunately, for me to get this in the UK when I needed it, I had to buy it on Amazon. I know, y'all know I'm not a fan. So, while I will put the link in my bio, if you can find this somewhere else, I'm not going to get mad if I don't get an affiliate kickback, okay? But I got this one because I was recommended it by a friend. It was a reasonable price. I believe at the time, I think I got it for about $100. Might have been £100 here. It's a little more than that now. I did have trouble finding it when I was doing this in the UK. So I wonder if it has gone out of stock, come back. Maybe the prices are changing because of that. I don't know. But I was recommended it by a friend who was like, once you get this mic, you won't need another mic. And she'd done podcasts and stuff before. And I was like, okay, well, that's a pretty good recommendation. So I have kept using it for some of my YouTube videos. You'll see it. I do like it. Now, if you follow me, you know I can't sit still. If you see some of my earlier videos from 2024, I was moving all over the place. You could always hear it on the mic. So I knew a mic stand was really important. I got this Rode PSA 1 Plus with spring dampening and cable management, black. I do like it. It did come with this, which screws onto a desk, or the shed shelf pretty easily. Never had a pop mic filter before. I just got this one, was like $10. I'm not in love with it. I find it a little difficult to get to bend in a way that doesn't block my face, but that could be a me problem. And I know y'all don't watch videos that I don't have my face in. Yeah, I'm on to y'all. I see you. So I have found that while the clip itself didn't really go well with this mic, I think because it has like this is kind of a slippery, which you could take it off, but I think it protects the stand pretty well. I have found that if I use a hair tie and just wrap it around here, that is the most effective way for me to use this. And it did get the job done. The only other equipment I used was my MacBook, which I've had since 2021. And I just used GarageBand to record everything. Now, because it's a Mac, what the microphone comes with is a USB port. Because Apple thinks they're special, I had to use an adapter to be able to plug it into my Mac. But I did do that, and then GarageBand is free for people who have Apple products, is already installed. So I just use that. Now, if you are a PC user, I wanna say when I had PC, which I had for most of my life, it was Windows Media Player, but when I Googled it recently, it said BandLab is the closest equivalent. If you are a PC user and you know, please comment it on this video. For me, it was always Windows Media Player. I don't know if that's changed in the last 5 years that I got sold into Mac. Now, the drama with my print book began I realized it began when I was recording the audiobook. So I released the print first, ebook and print version, because I was like, oh, okay, I just want to get that out there and then I'll work on the audiobook because I was honestly intimidated by how to record it and what to do, which is why I'm making this video. So y'all don't do this. And when I was reading this is when I noticed all of the typos and terrible things that happened during the copy edit in this book, or that didn't happen, I should say, because I'm not going to pretend I didn't make the typos, but I paid someone to correct them, and it didn't happen. So the audiobook process took longer than I thought because I was having to document every single typo that I found. So what I would recommend if you were an author is, even though you may feel the pressure to get your print book out, especially if you have 60,000 people online asking you for it, which I'm very grateful to have, y'all, don't get me wrong, is record the audiobook first anyway. You don't have to edit it before you get the print out, but record it. Just in case, because that sucked. And that's why my book was only available for 2 months. So yeah, I took it down immediately. So in the middle of this audiobook recording process, I had to hire a new copy editor, and I went with Lana Macara with Vandella Publishing. She is also a Northern Florida woman, and she was recommended to me by Rodney, and Rodney at this point in the book was the only person I trusted. And so if he had a good thing to say about Lana, I know I could trust her, and I did. She did a great job. I read every word in the book after she was done just to make sure, and I was much happier with it. And so if you are looking for an editor and you don't want to end up with a story like mine, I recommend giving Lana a shot, reaching out to her, seeing if she has availability. She does do publishing as well. And she has no idea I'm making this video. I don't even know she has a YouTube. I know she has a Substack, so I'll at least put that in her website in the description. But um, there's just so many predatory people in business in general and in publishing right now that I just really want to shout out the people who were great in this process and make sure they get the business, and that y'all know who to follow, because her Substack is really helpful. I do follow it even for anything that you're interested in writing. And she has a podcast. I should have an episode on there too called In the Writer's Chair, where she interviews writers on their writing process. So she's just very in this field, very well established. I think she's sold over 1 million copies of her own books. So she's a pro, and she was doing all of this while I was working through the editing and everything with the audiobook, making sure the manuscript was getting up to shape and turning into something that people could buy and hand around in their workplaces proudly. And I just really want to shout out that she really turned this project around from what was feeling very discouraging into something that I'm proud of. So after I recorded it all, what did I do? Well, I exported from GarageBand into this program called Descript, which you can see is a text editor. It transcribes all of your audio into text that you can edit from there. I started using this during my workplace bullying course because I was looking for a way to get rid of my filler words and to break down the 1.5-hour sessions, the modules, into smaller, more ADHD-friendly style videos that were much shorter. And Descript allowed me to do this with text editing, and I could even just write in the text which chapters to just export automatically so I didn't have to chop them up later. I like this tool so much. This is the first tool that I ever reached out to a company and was like, we need to have some kind of brand deal because I love your product so much. Now, throughout the process of recording this audiobook, I fell both a little more and out of love with it, and part of that could just be I was sick of the process. But part of it is also, as everything connected to AI right now, it's getting more expensive and the usage credits are getting lower. or I should say you're getting fewer for the price. I still think it was really worth it for this process, and I have an annual subscription. I'm gonna keep using it. We'll see what it is when it's time to renew, but as of right now, I still think it's at a cost where it's worth it because I really hate the editing, just minor things where it's just a misclick on a audio reel away. I don't know how to say that, but the text just makes it so much easier for me. Saved me a lot of time was the regenerate tool because it would use my voice it would help me regenerate just certain words or phrases that when I listened to them away from my mic, I didn't realize I said them a little funny, or they just weren't as clear, or I was maybe a little too stubborn when I said them and didn't think other people would understand. So it would help me regenerate just those clips instead of having to come back to the shed and record just those tiny things and interlay them and everything. So that was really nice to record. So listen to this. I say the word technical a little funky. Worked on through tactical meetings. Shouldn't be that. So what do? Regenerate. Okay, now let's see how it is. Done through technical meetings. See? It even sounds like me. It was also good for shortening, because when you read a book, you never read it perfectly out loud. There were a lot of gaps. Okay, so I'm going to find another chapter of my audiobook. Go into the files, audiobook files. Okay, notice it is 1 hour, 12 minutes, 11 seconds. Okay, it's going to upload. Okay, and then it tells me that it's going to make the transcript. And I say that's all good. I probably should have added my speaker name earlier, but I can add it manually later. Okay, so you remember how it's a minute or an hour and 12 minutes here? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the retakes from when I was recording, and I had to retake several times. So I click that and watch over here, a minute or an hour and 12 minutes. It's loading here. Okay, look, now it's down to an hour and 3. So I didn't do as many retakes as I thought. So that's good. Copy edits to new composition. And some of these chapters has gone from an hour and like 17 minutes to like 45 minutes because there were so many retakes. Okay. Next I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten the word gaps because I recorded all in one take. And so there can be some big gaps. So I have found that 0.7 seconds is the sweet spot for most of mine. And I only know that because this is chapter 6. Oh, it's still processing. So let me give it a minute. Okay. Went and found them, shorten all. Notice 313. Okay, so you see now we're down to 57 minutes, and this is showing you how long I had some pauses in there. And doing this before I do anything else is also saving me a lot of time while I'm editing and going through, because I'm still going to go through this line by line. It doesn't do it perfectly. I still had to go through and listen to every single chapter and make sure that all the words were enunciated correctly. And in that case, I'd use regenerate. And if it was really bad, I'd re-record if it was like a whole section, but mostly regenerate worked. Cut all the pauses in between and to make sure that it actually did get rid of any duplicates. It got rid of most of them. I would say it got rid of 80%. But still, if you say something even just slightly just differently, or you have an or you pronounce something differently, it was pretty good. But like I said, 20% still had to be cut by me. Now, another thing I'll say when you're doing the script, make sure that you have a really good file naming system. Again, where the ADHD could come out, because there were like 2 times where I deleted something that I thought was an older file that was actually my new edited file, and there is not a trash bin. Like once it's gone, it's gone. And I felt a lot of I was deleting as I went instead of just waiting to the end, because with how much video and audio I was going through, my computer was quite full. So I was trying to save storage space. And yeah, don't recommend. Don't recommend. Also, make sure when you export that you click on the AI edits version, because the export, at least on mine, would default to exporting the original audio. And I exported several times and sent to an audio editor the one I hadn't already edited. So speaking of when I ultimately ended up hiring somewhere else. So I was in Southeast Asia during this time, having a great time, was really tired of hearing the sound of my own voice. And while I could with the script go through and take out every little sound, and Regenerate, because Regenerate was also good for even if I enunciated something, but maybe a sound happened that I didn't hear during the mic. Maybe I shifted during my seat. Maybe my jacket made a sound because it was cold sometimes when I recorded. Whatever, Regenerate could help get rid of that background sound. But I started to lose my mind a little bit. Okay, this is a long book. It's almost 10 hours, and that's the finished product. That's not how much I had to listen to along the way. So I did ultimately get on Fiverr and look for who can do this better than I can. And I found it goes by Risco T at XYZ Media, had thousands of reviews, all good, and would edit the sound for quality and said that will align with all audiobook platform standards for $30 an hour.